Hello, I'm Quartermuncher. Welcome to the Quartermuncher experience, where I play RPGs I've put off for too long. Baldur's Gate 2 is well known to be a Western RPG classic. It's the game that people look at as the game that put BioWare on the map. I'm playing the Enhanced Edition, and I'm covering both halves of the game that include Shadows of Amn and Throne of All, available on the PS4, Nintendo Switch, PC, and Xbox. I'm currently playing the PlayStation 4 version of the game, but this isn't a review, this is a journey. Let me tell you about the Quartermuncher experience. Baldur's Gate 2 was developed by BioWare and published by Black Isle Studios, a division of Interplay Entertainment back in the day. Development began in January 1999, and the game was released in September 2000. In Baldur's Gate 2, you play as a character-created protagonist. Either you import your character from Baldur's Gate 1, or you can create a new one from scratch. You also have key returning characters such as Imoen, Minsk, and Jaharo, alongside a strong cast of new characters and memorable villains such as the elven mage John Rennicus. Baldur's Gate 2 continues the story of our protagonist, an offspring of the dead god of murder, Baal, a Baal spawn, if you will. Our game begins with the protagonist being kidnapped and awakening in dungeons of a powerful wizard, and things just go on from there.
It's time for more experiments.
Much of the game's content takes place in and around the large city of Atkatla, which is divided into various districts that are dense with content and side quests. When it comes to dungeon, the game begins in Irenicus' dungeon, which is a maze filled with riddles and traps, and after you escape, the protagonist must raise a large sum of money to pursue Irenicus to the prison of Spellhold and rescue their friend Imoen, leading to a number of quests just to get money in between here and there. You'll raid tombs, you'll explore other dungeons. Baldur's Gate 2 is a classic RPG for a reason, and a lot of those reasons are just basic dungeons. Stats follow advanced Dungeons & Dragons rules, such as intelligence helping with identifying items and scribing scrolls, and players can recruit diverse companions who come with their own quests and stories. With that said, Baldur's Gate 2 comes packed with quests, featuring around 290 in total, many of which will be missed on a single playthrough. Baldur's Gate 2 is a classic single-player Western RPG with a strong emphasis on story, character interaction, and tactical combat. It uses a real-time with pause combat system. While the underlying mechanics are turn-based and based on 2nd edition advanced Dungeons & Dragons rules, actions happen simultaneously in real time unless the player decides to manually pause to issue a command. When you level up,
it shall be.
You gain character progression. Baldur's Gate 2 uses pre-rendered 2D isometric graphics with high-resolution support for its time. The art style was praised upon release back in 2000. The Enhanced Edition improves the engine with widescreen compatibility and new art, meaning that it's, here in 2026, it's visually appealing. It certainly works. The voice acting is considered superb, with actor David Warner's portrayal of the villain John Rennicus being a key reason for the game's immersive experience, and yes, the voice acting still does hold up in 2026. The original game featured a stable engine that allowed developers to focus on content. The Enhanced Edition fixed hundreds of bugs and added features like cross-player multiplayer and other features. In my
I see you
playthrough
have
of
made
Baldur's
yourself
Gate
at
2,
home.
I
Do not look so
imported my
surprised.
save
Must
from the
expect
original, where
time
I
to
played
fail
the game mostly as a rogue,
Oh, but I'm
mostly
not
just
incarcerated
swashbuckling my
here.
way
No,
through the
I am the
game.
new
I swashbuckled my
coordinator,
way
and you
through
are
both
in my
the
care
versions of
once
Baldur's
again.
Gate 2 here as
It is
well.
fortunate you arrived when you did. I am eager
I don't
to
have,
resume my
unfortunately, I don't have
experiments.
much more to say about my playthrough of the game, so I'm going to go straight to my likes and dislikes. One thing I liked about Baldur's Gate 3 were the villains, or villain in this case. Baldur's Gate 1's Sarabak was effective, but John Irenicus just takes the cake and eats it up from the moment he shows up. Another thing I liked was that Baldur's Gate 2 is what I like to think of as an improved sequel. Baldur's Gate 1 was a fine game, but Baldur's Gate 2 shows why it's a classic when you put the two directly next to each other. They play alike, but Baldur's Gate 2's questlines feel much better told, as well as they are in quantity as well as in quality. One thing I disliked about Baldur's Gate 2 was the combat. It goes way too fast for me to tell what's going on, and what's arguably a bit worse is that since everybody likes Baldur's Gate 2, everybody wants to copy the combat system as well. Real Time with Pause has its flaws and has some kinks to be worked out, but why modify it when you can just copy-paste it since Baldur's Gate 2 made it, since Baldur's Gate 2 had it? The best part of Baldur's Gate 2, both Shadows of Amn and Throne of Baal, is the writing. I've made it through Star Wars KOTOR, Baldur's Gate 1, Mass Effect, and Dragon Ages 1 and 2. But this is the game that made classic BioWare, and it's through the writing where it elevates it into Baldur's Gate 1, but enough tour de force to call it a classic. The worst part of Baldur's Gate 2 is the time stop spell. Normally Real Time with Pause goes at a breakneck pace, but at least it gives me the chance to pause to issue a command if I need to react. Not when a mage casts time stop and just puts everything to a halt. Then I just have to endure it until it's done. By the numbers, Baldur's Gate 2 has a party of 6 party members out of a lot. I beat the game at level 15 for the very, very end of both expansions out of 20 levels in total. Again, with both halves, that's 10 chapters in total. That's 2 games and 1 for Baldur's Gate 2. I completed it in day 50, hour 2. Not entirely sure how much real-time hours that equates to. But if I were to give Baldur's Gate 2 a score, it would be about a 17 on a D20. Alright, with that said, I've been Quartermuncher, and this has been Baldur's Gate 2. Thanks and ta-ta. See y'all on the next one.